welcome back to The Truth is Somewhere, the show where we talk about conspiracy theories and other things in that nature.
I can tell you don't do that often.
No.
You had in the middle of it.
We're doing things a little bit different today, if you couldn't tell. Today we have a special treat because Kori is the one who did the research, and he's going to tell me all about a conspiracy theory that he found. So without further ado, take it away, Kori.
All right, so I'd like to start with the fact that I decided I wanted to look up, on one of the mini topics that we had, that the moon isn't real.
Oh, okay.
So I started my search, like anyone would.
Uh-huh.
I went on to Google,
Uh-huh.
and I typed in, the moon doesn't exist.
Okay.
Right, conspiracy.
Uh-huh.
And that wasn't the first thing that popped up.
Really?
It was the second thing.
What was the first thing?
Well, we'll get to that.
Oh, well, that was a tease.
We will get to that.
Okay.
Well, I want to know. Can you guess
What the first
thing was that popped up?
That the moon landing was fake?
No.
Oh.
J.K. Rowling doesn't exist.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's a large contingency of people who believe that she had ghostwriters from, I think, book 3 going forward. And actually, like, if you go back and you read the first couple of books, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
In my opinion, the first couple of books are awful.
I thought that was just fact that she had ghostwriters.
It's contested, though. I
Okay.
think there are some people who believe it, there are some people who don't.
Okay.
I happen to think that it's probably pretty true.
Well,
it was heavily edited, because those first 2 books are trash if you go back and read them now.
Right.
Sorry. Harry Potter rant, you brought up J.K. Rowling. And
no, that's fine.
Harry Potter is where it's at for me. It's my one true love, my one true fandom.
Okay, so...
Okay. J.K. Rowling doesn't
obviously, I typed that in, I searched for it. I'm not gonna click on that.
No, of
right?
course.
I'm like,
want to
okay.
that too.
Okay, so I'm gonna figure out what this is. Alright, so I immediately had to follow the rabbit hole. Now, we're still gonna talk to people. We're still gonna talk about why the moon doesn't exist to some people.
Okay, but we're on a rabbit hole.
But we're on a rabbit hole, right? So this conspiracy started in 2005 with Nina Grunfield, who is a Norwegian film director. And she just simply stated that J.K. Rowling doesn't exist. She's not a real person.
Okay, so who wrote the Harry Potter books?
So what she is saying is that it is like, well, I'm totally brain farting. Anyways, it's a pen name. So she's saying it's a pen name. We'll get to it. I have it in my notes.
Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew. Okay, so she's saying it's like Nancy Drew. So it's pretty well known that Nancy Drew was not actually a real person. It was a pen name for like 13 different people.
I thought Nancy Drew was a book character.
Sorry, the series, the Nancy Drew series.
Oh, the person who wrote the Nancy Drew series.
Yes, was a pen name.
Okay.
Right. And I actually don't know enough about that series. I assumed that was the author when I was doing my research.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I assumed it was.
Character.
That makes sense. Well, either way, it was a pen name, all by the same author. But actually, it was a combination of men and women, 13 men and women, that wrote those books.
And they all used that one name.
Yeah, from 1930 to 1985, I think.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, Grunfield claimed that it was all just too perfect. She argued that for Rowling to dream up some magical world of Harry Potter while stuck on a delayed train, which is like she claims, is just all too convenient. Like, it wasn't some big childhood dream of hers. It wasn't something she concocted, over a long period of time. Rowling just states that she had it, like, it just came to her while she was stuck on a train one day.
Sure, yeah, the initial idea of this world came to her, but you can tell, like, as you read through the books, you can tell that she's fleshing things out and she's coming up with more and more as you go from book 1 to book 7. Like, absolutely it wasn't that she just came up with this entire explosive world in one, like, little train ride.
Sure.
Like, you can tell reading the books.
So what Grunfield is essentially saying is that there is this series of secret writers behind J.K. Rowling. Okay. And that J.K. Rowling might actually be a real person who just got handed the golden ticket.
Oh. Okay.
Of, hey, you're going to be the face. And it's some corporation that has done a lot of research and figured out about, how to make a big conglomerate merchandise scheme.
I don't know, because those books took a while to catch on, too. It wasn't, like, all at once. Like, the first 3, I think, were already out when Harry Potter hysteria, like, really started to take hold.
Maybe, but so essentially what she believes is that those books also came out very quickly. For one person to write, they came out too quickly,
there were,
she
like,
says.
spots where it was, like, 2 years in between.
I mean, 2 years is...
I remember waiting, and I remember standing in line at midnight, okay?
2 years is a short period to write a book.
Yeah, but if that's all you do, because she was also unemployed sitting in, like, a cafe writing all day. If
Look,
that's all
I don't necessarily agree with it.
Well,
I'm just saying this is what she said.
I'm gonna give you the arguments here. This is
absolutely.
what the point is, right? And, like, you're coming after my homegirl now. And I'm going to defend J.K. Rowling.
You're going to defend
even if she had ghostwriters.
Tooth and wand.
Tooth and wand.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what we started on. That's it. That's all I have on that. It's what? Really just...
No!
Yeah. It's mostly just this one person that has spread their word over the internet saying that there are
it's enough that somehow that comes up.
That was
when
the first thing.
You researched that the moon isn't real.
And I knew I was writing for you, so I just had to start.
What? No, that's dumb. That is stupid. That lady is nuts.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say she's nuts. It's definitely on the conspiracy side of it, but as far as it goes, is it really that unreasonable to believe?
I guess not. But
It's
I think
not.
It's much more reasonable to believe that there were a hefty team of editors and possibly some ghostwriters.
Oh, I believe that, absolutely. Full-heartedly. I believe that J.K. Rowling probably did this on her own, with a team to back her up. Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
So back to the topic at hand. Kind of. We're going to talk about the moon, but that's going to come up towards the end of it.
What? Are you kidding me?
Nope, because as I was digging for the moon, I found the real thing.
You found the real thing?
The real deal. The moon is just a cover-up.
Okay.
The moon is just a cover-up.
Please explain.
Okay, so do you remember a few years back when people were talking about this rogue planet?
That was going to crash into us, right?
Yeah, it was going to crash into the Earth. The planet is either referred to as Planet X or Nibiru.
Oh, Planet X was actually on my list to cover, so now you're covering it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's probably because you didn't realize that the fake moon and these two were connected.
I did not know that the fake moon and Planet X were connected.
So, the theory came around in 1995, and it has been thought to be a threat to humanity ever since then. People just believe that at some point it's going to crash into us. And it always seems to be very soon. It's going to happen just right around the corner.
It's like the Mayan end of the world.
Right.
And then like, oh, it's the rapture. Oh, sorry, we got the wrong hero. It's the rapture again. Like, oh, I must just not have been picked. Over and over and over and over again.
I mean, something along those lines. That's kind of how it always seems to be with Doomsday, is that...
Yeah, it's going to happen tomorrow, except not.
It's predicted that we're all going to die.
It's going to happen on the second Tuesday of next week. Mark your calendars, everybody.
I'm going to mark my calendar.
Okay.
Second Tuesday of next week?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a really old school Popeye joke. I probably just really explained the age of my parents.
Yeah, there's probably like...
There's a character who always asks people for money to pay for a hamburger, and he goes, I will gladly pay you the second Tuesday of next week for a hamburger today.
What is his name? I keep thinking the Hamburglar.
It's not the Hamburglar.
No, but I remember seeing the episode where he's a judge, and he's like... shoving
yeah.
hamburgers into his mouth. Yeah, as he's...
really, really old school Popeye joke. But
yeah. You probably tickled the fancy of, like, some 70-year-old listener would have. that one jive, hip, older person. Yep. That's laughing their teeth out of their mouth right now. I don't mean to offend. Hey, you know what? Your teeth fall out of your mouth when you want them to. Not painfully either. So it's good for you.
It's true.
Okay, so the initial date for the collision has moved a few times, but originally it was predicted to crash in 2003. I don't have the exact date. I don't think they necessarily did too. Actually, they did, because some of the stuff... I'll talk about some of the stuff I didn't write down briefly, but it is... so there's this woman named Nancy Leiter, or Leader. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, but she's the one that concocted this whole thing. She's the one that theorized this whole thing. And she believed that it was going to happen in 2003. And there was a comet that was supposed to pass. It was supposed to be like the brightest comet to ever come close to our planet, and she said that it was just a cover-up. That comet was just a cover-up. The government put a cover-up out there. Was it supposed to be
like part of that planet, or like?
No, it was just a cover-up. The government was saying that's what it was. Look to the skies for this bright comet, so that people wouldn't be in mass hysteria
about the planet coming to crash into us.
About the planet coming to crash into us. And there's some debates as to whether it's actually a sun, a brown dwarf, or if it's actually a planet.
I feel like if there was a sun careening towards us right now, we would notice that.
You'd think so. I'll talk about how they're covering that up in a little bit. But the government's covering it up.
So, let me get this straight. So, the government literally was like, instead of everybody having mass hysteria about this planet that's coming to squish us, we suggest that everyone go outside and look at the sky to meet your maker, essentially.
I guess
without putting the meet your maker part on that. Go outside, look at the sky, and then, like, all of the governments are like, tee-hee, tee-hee, they're all gonna die.
All of them. All of us are all gonna die. Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so, the date came and went.
Yeah, no kidding.
And, guess what? We're all still here.
Are you sure?
Well, I don't know.
What if we got taken out and we're all just, like, corporeal spirits?
Incorporeal?
I guess it would be incorporeal.
Yeah. I think you're right. Whatever, I'm right. I don't know. Anyways, we're all ghosts.
Yeah. We're all just, like, spirits running around a planet that doesn't exist anymore.
That's deep.
Like, even the planet is a spirit. Everything's just a spirit.
That's deep. It's Mother Earth. Mother Gaia, she's holding us here.
That bitch.
Like,
why? Why on earth would you do that?
So, it's important to note that some people believe that the planet isn't going to crash into ours. It will, however, fly very closely.
So, some people believe that the planet's actually out there and it's careening towards us and it might possibly throw off our entire gravitational pull.
Right.
But it's not going to hit us.
So, she later added that if it flies very closely to us, it's going to fly close enough that it'll
fuck up our gravitational pull.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It will stop the Earth's spinning and stop the Earth's core from spinning for, I think she said 5.9 days.
Okay.
And in that time, because the planet, or the brown dwarf, acts as a big magnet, it will cause our poles to shift.
Okay. Maybe we'll gain back all that time that we lost in the phantom time hypothesis.
I mean, maybe. But 5.9 days doesn't sound like long enough.
I don't know.
Maybe. So, like I said, some people believe that that's what's going to happen.
So what happens to the planet if the poles shift?
So it's actually been, it's pretty heavily theorized. Theorized, thank you.
Words are hard.
By some credible scientists that the poles have actually shifted before.
Okay.
Which is interesting because there's actually some muttering that it's because of Nibiru that the poles have shifted before.
When you say shift, are you talking like from being perfectly north-south, they're like northeast-southwest?
No, like north turns into south and south turns into north.
Completely just swap.
Yes.
So we'd be where Australia is?
No, we would be exactly where we are now. However, if you were to hold a compass out, north would point south. You gotta imagine this will mess with a lot of things. Birds won't be able to fly the paths they used to fly anymore. There are the Earth is essentially a big magnet, and there are a lot of things, and it's actually comprised of a bunch of smaller magnets, except for the core, which is theorized to be a big molten ball of iron and other metals, and that is what creates the majority of the magnet that is Earth. It's pretty heavily I wouldn't say heavily theorized. It's all but confirmed that the core is a molten iron, and that's confirmed because we know about the radiation comes from the sun, and we know how it can be blocked by lines of flux, which are essentially the lines that come from a magnet.
Okay.
Pretty cool experiments you can do to see these lines of flux on even a normal magnet. But if those didn't exist, the Earth would be bombarded by the sun's radiation and we'd all die.
Okay.
Life wouldn't exist here. So the fact that the Earth is a magnet is really not disputed. It's kind of what the core could be, but it's like 99.9 repeated % chance that it's a molten core of iron. Anyways, you take that magnet in there and you flip it on its head because you got another big magnet next to it.
Okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
And
yeah, because they repel.
That's what people believe could happen.
Okay.
Right? So electronics would fry. It would potentially create a worldwide EMP. Electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah.
So really, really bad. Might throw us back into the Stone Age real quick.
Right.
So that's why this is such a big worry. It's a doomsday because one, it might crash into us and kill us all, but it's also.
But if it doesn't crash into us and it comes close,
right,
it might spell out like catastrophic disaster anyway.
Right. So some people theorize that Nibiru is actually part of another solar system.
Okay. Why is it not in its own solar system anymore then?
Well, it is in its own solar system. That solar system is just coming past us. The whole solar system is moving? And that planet is the one that will come closest to us.
Okay.
Right. So like I said, they believe that the poles had... so scientists actually believe that the poles potentially shifted in about 500 BC.
Okay.
And scientists believe that if the poles were to shift again, it wouldn't be until about 360 AD. Or, I'm sorry, 3600 AD. So we got a long ways until scientists believe the poles are going to shift again, right? We can be ready for it by then. We might not even be... Well, as humans, we might not even be on the planet anymore.
Right.
Because we've ruined it. We've wallied it.
we've done the Wally thing.
So scientists... They compile the evidence. I don't know where they get it, but they obviously have some sound judgment, and they know what they're doing when they know what they're talking about. I tend to believe them a little bit more than I believe the Nibiru theorists.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So like I stated before, it all started in 1995. And I had mentioned Nancy Leader before.
Yeah.
So she is the founder of a website that started in 1995 called Zeta Talk.
Does it still look like a 1995 website?
Actually, let's bring it up. I decided I wanted to show you this. And I will link it in our description. So actually, I wasn't on the homepage. So it doesn't quite look like it's from 1995.
No,
it's been updated.
It's not bad
so
looking.
She actually has... I'm really impressed by this website. Because she's obviously been compiling information since 1995. There are tons of pictures from around the globe that support what she's saying. There's pictures that show second suns. There's pictures that show glimpses of these of this other planet that's supposed to come in.
Okay.
Like there is a lot of stuff. She updates this. Her and I think there are three other people that update this with her, and they have a large social media presence. I mean, just there is even 7 steps to stay safe. So like when this happens, this is how to tell whether you're going to be safe or not based on where you live.
But, I mean, this is like ultimate doomsday. Like, if a planet crashes into us, nobody's safe.
Right. Or if the planet just careens past us,
and we have a massive EMP,
there's going to be flooding.
Safe.
Well, you got to think there's going to be floods. There's going to be gravitational disturbances, things like that. No, well, she's saying like head for high mountaintops, things like that. Like I said, she's got 7 steps to
hang out on
to
a
safe
mountain
location.
around the equator. Probably,
maybe.
Seems
They've
like
got
things
maps.
would change the least there.
Let's see. She's got... Where were her pictures? Okay, so here we are. And these are a bunch of pictures of what they believe as evidence. So they show 3 here, but each one of these are a link to more pictures. And she actually has it broken down as to how this could be.
I mean, are those not just lens flare though?
Yes. I will agree that there are certain things that I might think are slightly unexplainable, but the dual sun thing. So there's this picture where you can clearly see the sun rising.
Looks like a moon to me.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
But I think it actually looks like the sun because it's too bright.
Okay.
I guess is a good way to put it. So here's the clouds. You ever heard of a sundog?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's essentially when you get a ring around the sun,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if there's one thing I'm really familiar with, and I've said it before, it's the electromagnetic spectrum. So if you're talking about the way light bends through air, if you're talking about radio waves, things like that, I have a pretty solid foundation on that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you right now, it could pretty easily be that the light is getting caught on the clouds above and being reflected
Okay.
and refracted
See,
back
I was
down.
seeing is it like the sun above and the moon below?
Right. So what she's claiming is that
There are two suns.
there are two suns.
Okay.
There are two suns.
Sure.
Right. So here's some more second sun. So you have this right here, this light right here, and this light right
I
here.
think that's very clearly it just shining through the clouds.
I mean,
like,
and then
clouds
look
are
at
like
this.
a magnifier.
Look at this. There are
It's
some
water.
very clear sun dogs right there.
Yeah.
Sun right here, sun right here. This is the evidence that they're going off of. So here's them showing different moons that could potentially be there. These just look like little reflections of light to me.
Yeah.
Light artifacts.
Like refractions and like.
Yeah. So
Lens flare.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, it's lens flare. A lot of lens flare.
I know. I mean, that's what this is. So, but like I said, there is a lot of it.
Yeah,
so I said I was
she's got a
impressed.
shit ton of
I was
pictures.
impressed by this site because there is a lot of stuff here. Like, if that alone could convince some people that
Yeah,
there is
because
just
there's
so
so
much
much.
here that how can you dispute it because you there's just so much to argue against,
Sure.
right? So, she and her team of whoever
Mm-hmm.
has done a really good job compiling this site.
Sure.
Do I still believe it?
No.
No. But like I said, really good job at putting her site together. So let's talk a little bit about Nancy.
Okay.
Right.
Let's talk about Nancy.
Let's talk about Nancy. Okay, so when Nancy was a child, she says that she was visited
Oh, Nancy.
by aliens.
Oh, Nancy.
Yes, and they put a communication device in her brain.
Oh, Nancy.
Yeah.
Is Nancy schizophrenic?
I don't know. But she claims that she has been communicating with these aliens.
Okay.
They're the Greys that everyone knows of.
Uh-huh.
Right. But they call themselves Zetas. Hence Zeta talk.
Okay.
Right? At least she's consistent.
Sure.
Right. So what she said is that they are communicating to her so that she can warn mankind about this planet coming through.
Sure.
And we can be prepared for it.
Okay.
And the government is trying to cover it up.
Of course they are.
Of course they are, right? But, I mean, when you're saying that aliens are talking to you, you kind of lose all your legitimacy.
Your credibility.
All your credibility.
That you were abducted and they put a transponder on you, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess now we can start to tie this back to...
To the moon?
To the moon. Yeah, we're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to get there. So, many believe that the government is covering up the sky to cover up Nibiru and this other potential sun
Oh my god. So, like,
using chemtrails.
we're all... Oh, this is one even crazier than I thought it would. I was like, we're living in the Truman Show. They put us in a giant bubble.
No.
No,
it's chemtrails.
Oh, god damn it. This is just like one after another.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's why I was really
I was gonna
pleased
talk
with
about
this.
chemtrails, too.
We could still talk more about chemtrails. I don't know if you'll get a whole episode out of it,
Mm-hmm.
especially after this, but yeah, chemtrails.
Oh, fuck.
So they've been using it to obscure the sky. It's why people say that the stars aren't as bright as they used to be. Used to be able to see the Milky Way, but how can you if there's all this haze in the sky?
Because of the light pollution or
Oh,
something.
no, it's not because of that. That doesn't make any sense.
For
No.
fuck's sake.
It's because of chemtrails.
Don't use logic, Megan.
Nope. Some people claim it's why the skies are so clear because clouds have a hard time, accumulating in in the material that's being put up in the air. I've read a few things.
So which is it? Is it that we have really clear skies with no clouds, or is it that we have
it's
hazy
still
skies with no stars?
Okay, so those are not from the same person.
Okay.
Those are two different sides of the same coin.
Okay.
But it could still be that blue light's coming through just fine. Whatever's up there allows blue light to pass through.
Okay.
It's frequency dependent of the light, right?
Okay.
So I can understand both of these living together.
Okay.
Right. So some people so we're gonna get to the moon now. We're finally there.
We're finally back to the moon.
We're finally getting to the moon. The moon is a projection on the chemtrail. Because you have this haze up there that doesn't allow light to come through, but it reflects light back easily.
Okay,
I've read some stuff that
no.
people believe that it's tin that's up there, or aluminum, and other little highly reflective metals.
No, that does not make sense. It doesn't make sense because there are so many pictures of the moon where it's like so fucking clear. There's no way that it's projected onto basically
right.
clouds.
So
no, that's fucking stupid.
So the what the argument is that the moon is too bright. It's too bright. It has to be a light projection. It's a light projection. It has to be.
No, because you can so clearly see like the craters and stuff. There's no way if you were projecting onto something like a chemtrail, which is basically like a cloud, right?
From a far distance. On a far distance. I mean, it's
no,
like
it's
think about looking at an old TV.
No, it's too detailed.
Let me finish.
No, it's way too fucking detailed. Like, actually, I guess no, because I've taken pictures with myself. So what I was going to say is, unless they're going to say that like the NASA telescopes are in on it, which obviously these people would be the kind of people to say the NASA telescopes are in on it.
They're the ones who are projecting it.
But I have personally taken pictures with my point-and-shoot Canon camera with like a really good zoom on it and gotten a lot of detail in the moon, and there is no possible way if that was projected on something like a hazy, misty, whatever chemtrail that it would be that detailed.
So a lot of people say this is why the moon has haze around it often. A ring of haze because it's being projected.
But what's the argument about the detail? There isn't one. You didn't see one.
I didn't see anything. Look, I'm just telling you what they're saying. I'm not. What?
This is so stupid.
Hey.
This is possibly the dumbest one we've talked about.
Only because I'm covering it.
Oh, Jesus. Because you were like, I'm gonna go off on all of these.
No. This is
and then I will finally bring you back to the moon, and it is the dumbest idea.
Why do you think I had to put all that stuff before
Jesus.
Why do you think I had to put all that stuff before it? Because this was...
That's just ridiculous. Like, I'll grant you that people think that there's a planet careening towards us and it's gonna cause a massive EMP or it's just gonna explode our little planet. Fine, I will grant you that. I will even look past the fact that poor Nancy has a transponder in her head from the aliens. I will not look past the fact that people think that the moon is a projection on chemtrails. I will not.
No, that won't do it.
No.
So, one thing I've noticed, and maybe it's because of the podcast we do now, it's that we as humans are fascinated with our destruction.
Sure, yeah.
We are.
Mm-hmm.
We're always terrified.
It's very popular.
We're always terrified that it's right around the corner. I mean, if you think about it, people have been planning out our destruction for at least as long as we've been writing it down, and probably longer.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible. Mm-hmm. It's in just about any religious text.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right.
I think it makes sense that we plan for it and we think about it, but we fascinate. We're fascinated with it.
Yeah.
Like
we are.
We really are. It's like in our DNA, and some people just latch onto it more than others.
I'm okay with the idea that people, like, there are doomsday preppers, and, like, I'm okay with it. Sometimes I think they're a little nuts. Full disclosure. Sometimes I watch that show and I am, like, ridiculously fascinated by how crazy some of these people are.
Sure.
But I will give you the idea that absolutely when you start thinking about, like, how finite our lives are and how we have a hard time grasping the infinite,
mm-hmm.
and thinking about the fact that, like, possibly the Earth could just go on forever, and we could go on forever with it,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, possibly we're going to destroy it.
Sure.
We are destroying it, but I can get behind all of these things where people are like, we cannot grasp the idea that we could possibly be on here on this Earth, like, on this rock floating in the middle of nothingness forever, because that just doesn't compute for us.
Sure.
So we come up with these things where we're like, oh, what could derail the possibility of us being here forever? I get that.
Yeah.
I just think that, like, what's so wrong with coming up with plausible ideas about the destruction of the Earth?
Not everyone is plausibly sane.
Like, nuclear war. Nuclear war could destroy the Earth.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
quite literally, a planet crashing
careening towards us
is
no,
highly
that is
unlikely,
perfectly logical, though.
but logical.
It's perfectly logical.
To claim that you have evidence on it, though, is not quite so logical,
No.
especially if it comes from the Greys.
The idea is logical to me, and
So-
it's a plausible idea that there could be another planet that gets knocked off kilter. I don't know. Somehow a planet knocks into us, or a really big ass asteroid knocks into us and destroys the planet. Fine, I will accept these as theories that are plausible, but I can't stand it when these people are like, oh yes, this is going to happen, and I know this because the government is covering it up, and my proof is that sometimes the moon is hazy looking.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That literally doesn't make sense.
Well, see, if you would have come to me with this, it would have been a much more science-heavy conversation. I didn't bring a lot of that forward just because I wanted you to talk about it.
I am not.
No, that's
sciencey at
fine.
all.
That's fine. I could probably debunk just about everything here. Partially because around 2011, I had to debunk to some close friends about some of this stuff because they were kind of entranced by it.
The chemtrail thing?
Well,
specifically?
chemtrails and also Nibiru.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
It
So
was that whole 2012 end of the world thing.
yeah, you know,
Damn
everyone
Mayan
was
calendar.
really getting into it. You know what's real funny is the Mayan calendar actually didn't have leap years in it. So the Mayan calendar would have happened a long time ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yep. And it could it also have just been that's just as far as they wrote their calendar out.
Like, yeah, exactly. That's what I
Right.
always thought. It was like they just stopped.
Yeah.
Because,
Gee,
again,
we've
we
already
don't-
wrote 2,000 years into the future. Should we stop?
Yeah.
I guess.
Like, when we need more days, we'll add more days. Like,
Right.
Yeah. No,
Right.
that's what I kind of always thought.
So I have a question for the listeners. So if we've already established that witches get their powers from aliens, is Nancy Leader an alien? Or a witch, I'm sorry. Is she a witch?
I mean, obviously.
Obviously. That's all I have. That's what I have for you.
All right.
That's it.
Truth is somewhere, guys.
Yeah. You want to close
It's
this out? You
not
open this up?
here. It is not here. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TTIS Podcast. If you are a fan of the show and you like what we're doing and you want to help us out, you can rate and review over on iTunes. It really helps people find the podcast. If you want to help us out even more, you can head over to Patreon, also at TTIS Podcast. And you can find multiple tiers there and extra bonus goodies and extra bonus merch for different tiers. And if you would like to email us, which some of you have been doing, and I really appreciate it, I
Yeah.
get really excited about it, it's thetruthissomewherepodcast@gmail.com. And you can also find merchandise over at thetruthissomewhere.threadless.com. And all of our show notes and everything is at thetruthissomewhere.com.
That's it.
That's it.
Thanks.